Hello everyone, happy Friday. Here we are with my friend Joy Abdullah. We we are sharing our Friday with you. So I would like to invite you, all of you, to the Dare to Dance Your Way show, and I would like you to enjoy this conversation. We will be here for 1 hour. Please feel free to share your questions. You maybe can join also us on the stage if you are brave enough. Hi Darpan, you are always here with us. I'm really happy to see you here. And everyone else who is watching us, just feel free. This is a show for everyone. We are a very diverse show. We are free of judgment, and we help you to grow, to elevate others, and to live a happy life. So hi Joy, how are you? How have you been?
I'm good. As I was just telling you, coming onto this, that thank you. It's great to be back with you. It's been 6-7 months since we last did one of our webinars together. So it's lovely to be on your show, and it's been a fantastic 2021. I mean, the first quarter is ending. A couple of buns in the oven that are cooking extremely well, and yep, great way to sign off the first quarter. Lovely to be on your show, and that too. Hello to all of your Facebook network. Anybody who wants to get in touch, not a Facebook person, but you'll get me and get everything on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on IG. So rock on, Andrea, all yours.
So Joy said it all. You can find him mostly on LinkedIn. Follow his posts, always wisdom nuggets about marketing mainly. So if you would like to learn something about human business, then Joy is the person to go. So what we will do for today, most of the time I start the show with a personal story because we are not just interested in business, we are interested in human beings. So tell us, who is Joy? Where are you coming from? Everything else.
Right. Okay. The short answer for anybody who wants, please hit my LinkedIn profile, go into the featured section, and you'll find a book. Oh, first, you'll find an article called How I Found Myself. That's the long story. If you want the feature film, part of the feature film, the documentary is in a book called Becoming You, Stories of Vulnerability and Courage. It's my story of the last 3.5 years, transiting from a corporate professional to an entrepreneur consultant. And who am I? Just like Andrea said, another human being who is slightly unique. And let me point out that uniqueness. So when you look at this mugshot and all of your biases kick in, you're going to be thinking and hearing my accent, this guy's South Asian, chances are, is he Indian? Not very sure. He's got a peculiar name, Joy Abdullah. So let me put this to bed. I'm of Indian origin and I'm British. I was born in Manchester. I spent 13 years of my life in Manchester, and the next 28 years of my life in the Indian subcontinent all over, higher education, working, and then exactly in June of this year, it'll be 21 years that I relocated to Malaysia. And here I am. I'm a father of 4, and I'm very proud to say that I never have to apply to UN for a job because that's my permanent job. I have a mini UN in my family. My elder 2 kids are Indian. As I said, I'm British. My wife and my younger 2 kids are Malaysian. So that's who I am. Oh, by the way, I love certain basic foods which are staple in the Indian subcontinent, which is, the paratha and the dal. That's one of my staple diets. I love that. I love something that many of you who are coming on Andrea's network from the subcontinent might be able to connect with, or from Malaysia, which is something that we in India call pani puris. They're little small wheat flour balls with stuffings and a beautiful tamarind water. And of course, I can't but help love a thosai. That is absolutely a given. So that's the food part of me. I have been in marketing and advertising for 33 years across 8 industries. Again, it's on the LinkedIn profile. I'm not going to bore you, but what that has done for me is it brought home a fact about 5 years ago, that the difference in corporate life and committing a crime is that when you commit a crime, you become a number and you stay behind bars and you wear a striped suit. Some countries, they're different colors. I'm not going to go there. In the corporate world, you wear a suit of your own choice, your own color, but you're still a number. What am I getting at? The insight that I had about 4 or 5 years ago was that we are dealing with people, business in any form, social enterprises, commercial enterprises, not for profit, any form does not exist if people aren't there. So, we have this classifications of B to C and B to B, business to consumer, business to business. At the end of the day, it's all about people. And that's what sent me on this journey, on this entrepreneurial journey, where today I run a strategic marketing advisory, which is a bit different from digital marketing. We do digital marketing with other collaborators, but I focus primarily on marketing strategy, personal branding, and employee advocacy. So, humanizing business, which is the label my company name, it has a tagline. It says, because people matter. And what I do for, again, B2B companies is go in there and show people how their personal brands and employee advocacy converges to create real, transparent, genuine, organic communication, which goes out as part of marketing or brand communication and creates a community which refers, engages, and buys from the business and the brand. You work with me, your business is going to be sustainable. I don't know, 10 years down the line, you have to invest for 1 year of time and patience, or other 11 months, and you'll get it. That's what I do. That's who I am. Anything else, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn and I'll happily answer.
That was so nice. You are actually put everything in one. So we have so many things to talk about. And as you mentioned, you have a mini UN in your own family. I would start with a diversity question because, I'm in the field where I'm advocating for diversity. I love the colorful connections. And you as a person living in a family like that, you must have some thoughts about it. What is the advantage of the diversity and accepting diversity?
The first thing I would like to highlight, let me step back a bit. Everything I'm going to be sharing from every angle is always laced with two things. It's meant to better your professional interaction. So whether you're an employee or you're in business or you're an entrepreneur, it's actually meant to influence and make that better for you. But it comes from a very heart-led or a very human, emotional base. So diversity, I loved it. I've gone through certain, I'll use the word traumas in my life. I've been a sailor who sailed many a port, seen many a storm. And the first thing that diversity does is it creates the ability to adjust and adapt to culture. And culture is very different from the way we all think of culture. Culture is actually the social behavior, the social norms that we follow. So, Andrea, for example, what you would do back in Hungary or in Romania or in London is very different to what you do in Kuala Lumpur, or will be very different to what you do in, let's say, Dubai or Bahrain. All right? There is a social behavior, and then we loosely in our communication address this as culture. So the first thing, having diversity at home has helped me, is to be able to adapt and understand, adjust. What does those two mean? It means give somebody the opportunity to speak their mind. Try and understand their mind space, which is very hard to do because we are all in a reactive mode. Half the time we are not listening, we are actually hearing and then reacting. We are not listening. So there's a vast difference between listening and hearing. That's what diversity does. It's able to help you adapt to somebody who's different from the way you are, the way you've been brought up, the way your biases are. That's what it's taught me. It taught me to accept my biases. It taught me to be able to observe and put my bias aside. So I'll give you an example. 15 years back, God bless my wife, because she's my soulmate, my buddy, my best friend, BFF, my angel, my everything. I mean, not because she's the mother of two of my kids and I love her deeply, but when I met her and I was working in Malaysia, and typically like an expatriate mindset, I come with a predominant, and I'll use the word Western influence mindset, because I've grown up in that environment. I've grown up in an environment where you are very aware of racism, for example, right? And then I've spent another 1/3 of my life in a country where I'm the first class citizen, though I'm technically a foreigner, but nobody can tell I'm a foreigner because I don't wear it British national on my forehead here. I talk the language, I eat the same food. And I realized that in our initial years of our relationship, and there was two ways we could go. One, I could bulldoze my way and say it's my way or the highway, because you know the Asian culture, it's the man, and you follow the man kind of stuff thing. Or I could learn. I thank God every day for the last 58 years of my life that I've been blessed with a curious learning mindset, because I said, I want to learn. I could see adapting and adjusting to her culture and her society and her environment would help me do better in the environment that I'm already operating in. Keeping
This
that
is
in
also
mind.
something very important that the audience has to see, the curiosity, how important curiosity is in life.
Yes. Look, we are digressing, but I'll come back to the main point. If you look at any children, not because I have young boys and everything, my elder two are extremely curious. Curiosity is something that a child is gifted with. So the moment the child starts crawling, walking at 1 year of age, they'll be going and picking up everything and putting everything in their mouth. I mean, that's sensory thing. So if you look at child psychology, we are born with our brains going into the curious mode, because our brain is a blank hard disk that's looking at things and putting it in. Later, it becomes behavior and pattern. But find that curiosity. What happens to that curiosity is we start getting no's. As parents, we are stressed, we give our kids screens, we want some time. We start telling the kids no. I know I'm a parent and it's very hard. And I share, even during this entire COVID period, I've shared the house more than 50-50 with my wife. We've just taken turns and said, okay, 2 weekends is your, 2 weekends is mine. It's literally like, you've got 2 weekends free. You go do what you want. If you want to Netflix binge for 12 hours, go do it. House is my responsibility, and vice versa. But the point being, keep your curiosity. Curiosity did not kill the cat. That's a wrong phrase from my perspective. Curiosity fuels imagination. Imagination fuels dreams. When you put action to the dreams, you start getting intent. You start getting intentional about your life, your purpose, what you want to do. So that's a bit about curiosity. Coming back, curiosity, I had a choice. As I said, I was getting into a mixed culture relationship, and the choice was either bulldoze my way or the highway, which having come out of something pretty traumatic a few years before, I knew it's going to just burn me out. But on the other hand, adjusting and adapting was going to help me learn. So adjusting, adapting has helped me learn. I've taken that and I brought it into my work. I worked in very communal environments for years till I finished my last corporate gig. And I decided I want to get out. I've taken my learnings, and what I want to do is my passion and my purpose, which is show businesses value your people, because your people are curious, intelligent, emotional human beings, all three of which is also you as the business owner. Just because you pay them a salary and excuse me, you hire them for a skill set does not mean that they're not coming with the rest of the
package.
Package. So for you, yeah, great, you're paying somebody 20, 30, 40, 50,000, whatever you're paying, but remember, you can tap into that package, and the moment you tap into that package, and here's where you put in your business hat and say, I want an ROI on my talent. But the ROI is not a 2-year contract period and not this work area. I want ideas. I want new thoughts and new ways of executing. And if you bring the team together and align, which means share why are you in business and what can you do, magic happens. And I'll share now a little bit ahead on a couple of my clients from during the COVID period. Doing this work was pushing water uphill. Initially, it was the business owner who said, I want to do my personal brand and do our business brand and everything. And we did it. And 4 months went by and the response rates was just climbing up like percentage points. And I begged him. I just asked the clients, I said, look, give me 4 or 5 guys. Here are the guys I've already identified. Just give them to me. Give me 3 more months and see the magic. 7 months, client 1, 7 months from the day we started the contract, the client's growth rate was tracking at 12%. Growth rate means inquiries and leads were growing from month 7 onwards. And the guy actually closed out the year at about a 12-13% in terms of his revenue targets that he wanted to do. Guy too just went bananas because the employee engagement rate went through the roof. You know, people, when he really had to downsize or reduce pay scales, people were working for 30% salary. And they actually said that we are grateful, we have a job, we'll manage. And now when he's been able to pull back out, the moment there was cash flow coming in, every single cent, he just divided it back as back pay to the team. And it's amazing to see this company has not had a single headcount lost, a turnover. Somebody has not left in the last 15 months. So why am I sharing these two without giving names is because I have an NDA, so I can't give a name, which you'll understand and appreciate. I don't get paid for advertising for them. But 2 points. When you value diversity, everybody is diverse. And what I mean by that is, look, just because you come from the same faith, same community, same thing, you are not same. Every individual is unique. We know that. Our fingerprints and irises are biologically unique. Even mentally, we are unique. Number one. Number two, if you take in your mind, I need to learn because I don't know everything, but I'm talking to Andrea, and Andrea's got some perspective that might help me. And you're just honest about it. Our ego stops us from asking to say, Andrea, I really don't know this, but I'm talking to you. Do you have any ideas, or do you know where I could tap somebody? It's a simple, genuine, friend-to-friend kind of an ask. And it's something that comes very hesitantly because we've been trained to think that when you put out your hand and ask for help, you're actually showing a sign of weakness. Let me counter that and simply put this. In today's world, post-COVID, post-pandemic, putting out your hand and saying, I want to talk to you and I need to learn this or I need this help, right, isn't a sign of weakness. In fact, it's the other way around. It's a sign of emotional maturity. It says, so look, I mean, do you put out your hand and say, hey, look, I need $50,000. Can you help me because I've got loans and everything to pay? Yes, I've been there. I've done that. I'm still paying off my loans. I've had a lot thrown back at me. You've just got to have the courage because deep in your heart, you're being true. Let's bring it home. How could I do it? 5 years to 6 years back, difficult for me in the mindset I was in. I was a pinstripe, hardcore, hard-nosed corporate professional who would beat literally the last drop of blood out of you for his company. Not that I'd make a packet, no, but that was my psyche. That was how I've been trained. 5 years forward, I've understood the value of diversity. I've understood how people are the differentiator. It's not technology. It's not AI. It's not fancy apps and all the blings we get attracted to. It's simply the human heart and the human intent. So that's my learning out of diversity. I stay away from getting into discussions on diversity and inclusivity for only two reasons. It's not my forte. Personally, I have it at home. I've taken my learnings, I've applied it into my expertise, which is marketing. Therefore, when you work with me and you do your marketing and you do your communication, you're going to find a very, very, very warm, emotional, content tone that will go out. You'll find words that will attract your target audience in terms of their emotional antennas. And I do not like communicating under humanizing business or pro weaver or digital this thing or that thing. It's not under the company name. It has to be under Andrea Zapka, Joy Abdullah. And then we would have the personal brands would be founder, owner, CEO, managing director, whatever, senior manager, general manager. But that's stage two. That's my answer to diversity from family and into life and business.
Yeah, I hope the audience learns a lot. There were a lot of wisdom nuggets that he shared right now. So keep your notes in front of you and make notes and watch back the video. It will be available on YouTube and also on Facebook later. So now I would like to go to the second question, which is, you already touched it. So it's around empowerment. It's around we talked about diversity, and somehow humanizing business is empowering people because you give back the power to the people who actually make the change happen, right? So what is your take on empowerment? You know that I'm for empowerment without labels. I'm not for feminism. I'm not for anything. I want to empower everyone who has less or who is underrepresented. But what's your take on it, Joy?
I'll start with saying that I think people need to look up they need to look up the dictionary meaning of empowerment. My version of empowerment is very simple. I read EMPOWER, empower. I read when I see that word as I am power. Alphabet I, AMPOWER. Now, second point is you've got to realize at which point are you giving up your power, because power is something that we are born with. It stays within us. It's like a rechargeable battery that when you want to use it, you use it. But you are giving it up. So in scenarios of being bullied, you see what happens is when you're being bullied, for example, and you don't stand up, you're actually giving your power away to the opposite side to get bullied. Similarly, in the work environment, we can have various scenarios of, let's out in the West, there's a lot of talk about sexual harassment, for example, or racial discrimination as the other. Or let's just take a very simple example. Continuously, your superior is making you work late. The choice and the power. I know many in Malaysia, Singapore, and this region would say that we don't have a choice. We don't go home till the boss goes home. And that therein lies the story. That's the story you're telling yourself. The story is you're telling yourself you're a victim. Get out of that mindset and become a victor. How do you get out? You need the paycheck, you need the job. So there's two steps to it. You need to sit down and have a frank talk. Sit down and have a frank chat. And this is where you need to find the courage to say, what is it and why is it that we can't complete by 6? Why is it and what is it that I need to come into work on Saturdays or I need to work on weekends? Now, our culture, and I'm saying our from this regional perspective, does not allow us to talk like that. But the world has changed. You have two choices. Choice number one, you can either be trampled under 7.6 billion people because you're giving up your power, or you can stop, pause, think, grab your power back, and do something that makes you step out. Now, you'll get into an area of personal branding, entrepreneurship, and everything. But come back to empowerment. I always find it very funny when we talk about women empowerment, and I mean an English language phrase, not ridiculous or something, because why do we have the scenario that women and men are not equals, right? So we are human beings. We've got different skill sets. And my perspective, again, it comes from the diversity that I've learned, is if I collaborate, there's two sets of skill sets that become one. A husband and wife team is a brilliant combination team. And you'll find a lot of this family, husband, wife, parental anecdotes in my talk, because this is where I have learned as a professional how team works. Hey, look, you don't sit down and have a team meeting with your spouse, do you? But actually you do. I don't know how many do it or not. In my family, we have team talks, so to speak, about major financial issues, major upbringing issues, societal activities, commitments. We actually sit down as two adults and we take each other's opinions. That's what we're supposed to do. So back to work, why can't you sit down with your boss or your superior or your colleague and just lay it out on the table? That's you empowering yourself and bring on. What's going to happen? Things are going to go south. If you expect it to go south, you're manifesting, because you'll be using the words that way. So think positive to say, I'm not liking this. I got to communicate this and I'm going to say it. Say it. You might just be surprised that till, like somebody who stands up to the bully and the bully stops, right? Till you don't stand up to it, nothing happens and it continues. So the next guy, and you become a boss and then you say, oh, I used to work 70 hours a day and I'm going to continue doing it. Heck no, that's not the way life follows. So empowerment starts with self. I would always say reach out and talk to people who are in the business. I mean, I do a lot of work with coaches and learning people, so perhaps some of it has rubbed off. But reach out. I'm not a qualified coach, right? Talk to people like Andrea and Andrea circles, and there's thousands of people out there who are going to be able to be a lighthouse for you to take some direction to follow. And let me tell you, I've gone through recently, just 4 or 5 months back, through an exercise that has literally impacted my mindset like crazy. I could never think that you could reformat a hard disk that's 58 years old. You're seeing a reformatted hard disk that's working at, I don't know, some gazillion terabytes at this moment. I mean, I've got ideas and imaginations popping in my head that surprises me. I got to write it down and I'd be surprised. Here's my book. I carry this around with me everywhere just to scribble notes down. So the point I'm making, I ramble on, give yourself two things. One, give yourself love to say you're unique, you're great. And then even if you don't believe it, reach out and talk to somebody that you feel would be unjudgmental, non-biased, and will actually point you or give you the referral to the person or give you the help that you need. Once you have that, move out of a victim mindset. Stop blaming the entire environment and the world at large, because nobody owes you anything. From your parents onwards, nobody. You owe it to yourself. You, on your own 2 feet, have got to build it. Give that power to yourself. I can guarantee you, in 30 days of doing it, you'll be amazed with what kind of impact you're having, the effect of your empowerment that's coming. And yeah, come on board with, because I'm on board with Andrea on this, come on board on the empowerment circles. Come on board and share your experience, your learning, because each one of our stories, and let me tell you this from a marketing perspective, from a personal branding perspective, each one of our stories are valuable, provided we believe they're valuable. I wrote my story, as I said, a part of a chapter, a documentary. Why? I wanted corporate professionals to take strength in understanding it does not end when you finish a gig or you lose your job, because you are not your designation. There's more to you than just the designation. And trust me, and I've gone from intern to chief marketing officer in a 33-year career. I've been across 8 industries. I've gotten everything that the world could probably give me. And today I'm more hungry than I was when I started my career. And I'm doing it beautifully and having a lot more fulfillment than I've had in my 3 decades. That's part of empowerment. So come on board, join the circle, share your story, own your story, give yourself the strength that resides in you. That's the best way I can sum this up.
That was so beautiful, and I think this is something that people has to have courage for, to speak up and believe in it, that they have the gift that no one else has, and they have to share this gift with others, because otherwise no one knows. Like never said, it's never known. So you have to talk about it so that it's getting more known to the people. I really love this kind of talks, and I just love the way how you explain. I think the people will learn a lot during this session today. And we already touched empowerment, we already touched diversity, we touched a little bit of branding, and I know we do some kind of similar work in personal branding. I'm more deep diving in the personal coaching part, where they are gathering their talents and skills, and you are helping them in a business way to build it up and build a big strategy. So tell me more about this part. How does it start? What are like at least 3 tips that the people can already do by themselves to just implement some things?
Absolutely. So the difference, I'll explain. You said it beautifully, Andrea. You're looking at bringing up their skills and talents, and what I'm doing is very simple. I have a 3M model, so I ask people to find out similar. It's a triangle. The base is find your meaning, which is purpose and interest and values. Your purpose in life, which many don't even know the meaning of the word. Interest, it's a laundry list, and then you have values. And again, it's a laundry list before people realize personality, behavior, and they come down to 4 or 5 sort of core values. So that's the base. Identify that. Then you go to makeup, just like, we use makeup when we do big shots or whatever. I'm not wearing my foundation. So am I looking nice and dark today? Yeah, guess so. Your makeup is, what is it that you're purpose or your interest or your values actually make you do. So this goes into a bit of the mindset area where we are 90%, 95% of times we are operating from here, our conscious brain. All right. The conscious brain is actually a set of patterns. Neurologically, it's a set of patterns, and we behave according to those patterns. And remember, we've heard this, we've seen this. Get out of your comfort zone, otherwise, you won't grow, because growth lies at the edge of your comfort zone. The comfort basically is a set of patterns that our brain, our primitive brain, the conscious brain, is created to keep us safe. It only knows anything that is not in the pattern is a threat. Bring back to pattern or bring back to comfort. So we operate primarily from this. And what happens when we operate from this is we are losing our subconscious, which has got really got 80% of our potential, our actual innate abilities, traits, characteristics, the genuineness, to use a jargon, authenticity. Authenticity cannot be faked, it cannot be made up. So in the makeup level, it's a bit of that mindset. And as I mentioned while we were talking off screen, one of the collaborations that I'm working on is in this area and how it impacts communication. So the second M is makeup, which is how do you translate your interest, passion, and value and create it in a manner that resonates, which then goes to the last M, which is messaging. The messaging is not how you see yourself, but how you want your recipient or the other person to see you. Communication is only completed when the other person understands what is it that you're communicating. So that messaging is very different from looking at the world through my eyes. It's very different looking at the world. So it's like 6 and 9. If you've seen that example, you're standing on that side, I'm standing on this side, you see a 6, I see a 9. And we go hammer and tongs and each other and say, no, but it's 9. And you say, no, it's 6. Actually, all we need to do is swivel around and come together and we see a 6 and we see a 9. So messaging becomes from the aspect of, and this is, I've yet to find a client in my corporate career, and even now, I've yet to find a client that actually is messaging from the perspective of what its target audience wants, not from the brand's benefits and stories, right? And this is where my personal branding and employee advocacy, which is actually employee engagement translating into advocacy, comes in. Your personal brand, you build your personal brand as an employee. You invest, the company invests in that employee to build that brand, because when that employee is talking, it is translating as employee advocacy. And because you're building that employee's personal brand, it also acts as employee engagement with the company. Last level is that employee advocacy is organic content. It starts creating a community. It starts creating a small network of people who says, hey, Joel works at Humanizing Business and he's explaining the strategy behind Humanizing Business. Makes sense. He's doing that 24/7. Now, when I need something to go with marketing or on the strategy side, my go-to person is Joy. That's the attraction that the personal brand happens. And tomorrow, for an employee, it becomes a huge identity and a big draw. It's like jargon. Inbound recruiters call that person in. Client calls that, competitive organizations call that person in. So in place of job hunting as an employee, you are building yourself up. And it takes, by the way, it takes a couple of years to do it, to a point where you're going to be sought after. Number one. Number two is the benefit of the employee advocacy is that the company brand gets known as, hey, this is a place where the culture is fantastic. I'd like to work there because look at this, employees are talking so well. Employees are actually talking about the work that they're doing. But what you've done nicely is, and this is a trick, if I may say it, is you're circumventing the negative rant that we usually see on Facebooks and social media about my boss is a B, asterisk, 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 I can't say it live. So, we put this rant. Now, again, please don't do that rant, because what you forget is when you do a rant and you're just doing verbal diarrhea on social media, it's a digital world. It stays there. It can come back to bite you after 5 years, 3 years, 6 years, 7 years. So my area of personal branding and advocacy is tied to the business marketing strategy, the brand's communication. The development of the people and their personal brand is part of that. It's not a standalone program. The programs I run primarily for mid-career and business owners as a team. So I run it because it's part of my process of getting people aligned for the same purpose and the same objectives. And business owners need to know what are employee goals, because a lot of employees don't even articulate the fact or understand, I'd love to have a raise. How much of a raise do you want? Oh, 1 month's extra salary. Great. What are you going to do with that extra salary? Oh, I'm going to invest it straight away into X. Right. After that, you haven't thought step 3. So a higher purpose thinking, when you go through this conversation, the employee, the individual realizes, oh my God, I haven't actually sat and done a career plan. I haven't sat and done a personal plan. And then they start working on it, just like we do a marketing plan. And when they come back, there's a revelation, there's empowerment, all of this comes out. And of course, then the content marketing guys work with the right words and, active words and stuff like that. That's it.
And this is good for the company and good for the person, right? Because
exactly. And this is where it brings...
Yeah, it's actually internal branding and internal entrepreneurship, so-called, for those people who are caring about the brand. Exactly.
Correct. So I'm marrying internal and external communication into one, so that whatever is happening when it happens inside, it automatically goes outside through social media. Look, we are all on social. Even if you have a social media policy of don't use social, I'm sorry, but anybody after 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. in the night is still putting everything out on social, right? And I know companies who just can't keep track. I mean, even if you're working in a security organization, you can't. Now, of course, if you're using a social media handle in place of saying Joy Abdullah and you say, bald head 2 or something of that sort, that's a different ball game altogether. You don't expect bald head 2 to be, become big, because you need a face, you need a persona. And without that, you're just wasting your time. It's just digital white noise, as I may say, in doing. You're getting some dopamine fix, but that's all.
And we arrived to the place when we are already talking about entrepreneurship, and you already worked as an employee, and you are already shifted. And most of the time, the transformation from employee to entrepreneur is a little bit harder for people. First, there is the decision, and then you have to be brave, then you have to leave everything behind. Then you have to plan whether you just leave or you just have to collect money, and then you end up collecting money, but you never leave. So what was your strategy? How did you do this pivot from, like you said, you were like a hardcore employee at a company and you became a hardcore entrepreneur? So how was this shift happening for you?
I hope I become a hardcore entrepreneur. I think I'm still in lower school where that is concerned, with a 3.5 year journey. But mine was default. I'll be very honest, very frank, very truthful. It was default. So January 2018, I finished a role, 7 years into a role. And as you know, Andrea, in Malaysia, unless you're the CEO or something, you don't, as foreigners, you don't get more than 2 terms over. So the choice I had, and it was a default choice, was let's dust off the resume. And I'm sure with my experience and everything, I'm going to land a job in the next 30 to 60 days. And I had a float. I had cash saving to see my family through in terms of the cost of living for about 10 months. And I wasn't worried. I was just, hey, I mean, I've lived here for so long, worked here for so long, just going to get it. I remember sitting in September 2018, beaten, literally thinking, what the heck have I done with my life? Wondering, how am I going to take care of my family? Because my wife was a housewife who hadn't started anything. She had left her job to take care of our youngest one. And I was in a point where many men and many individuals, men and women both, have gone through last year. But I was at that point and I said, hang on a second here. This cannot be happening to me, because I was either I'm too expensive, I'm too overqualified, or, oh, you're a foreigner. Even though here I don't need to, get an official work pass. I'm a resident, this, that, everything. I understood that it was, well, excuses. Basically, people were in the market looking for a CMO who's 20 years old and can be paid $10,000 and have 30 years of experience, which maybe you'll find from Mars, but you don't have it otherwise. Okay. The second part was, my heart wasn't in it. Really seriously, I wasn't finding an organization that truly wanted to give scope to be that intrapreneur, if I may call it. Work independently, grow your team, create profitability for the company. And so by default, my first step was, let's put out my shingle and see what I can do. And it started my journey as, the glorified word is solopreneur. The market word is freelance consultant. And I literally started with about 2,500 USD kind of work and worked my way up. And as that started, I started rebuilding my personal brand, and I brought out a couple of podcasts, focused on LinkedIn, re-identified my purpose, intent, values, everything, and went through it. And over the course of 3 years, 3 failures, 2 successes, good and bad, because the failure showed me what I learned in 3 decades of corporate doesn't work, because those processes only work when you have a structure. Here in entrepreneurship, the first thing is vision. Create the picture of the structure, and then create the structure. Then only you get to process, right? So that's the journey. And it was, bottom line, you got to make sure what matters to you, and what matters to me is my family. That's my core. That's where I sort of operate from. If there's no family, I'm gone. I mean, for me, so to speak. So that motivated and drove me to make sure there's just enough to see us through. And by God's grace and blessings, I have to say that, there was a point when the water was above our nose. Today, the water is just below the chin. And I'm very confident that given 2021 and where it's shaping up, I would be able to bring the water at least below my arms. So, I can start splashing a little nicely. But that's been the journey of learning. And all along, I've had certain choices, which is, yeah, sure, I could make a quick buck, right? But I decided that legacy, reputation, and credibility were more important in the professional area than make a quick buck. So I wasn't going to sell my brand identity. I was offered close to 3.5 mil US to literally sell it off into a particular industry and just be their face. And I said, I went back with a counter offer of 9, with an intention that let it be thrown into the drain. And of course, it went into the drain. I was very happy. And I don't joke this, I will take it out, and I don't want to name names, but this happened 2 years ago. So from there, having those choices, the lesson I learned is, when you say no, it makes you feel very good, because you realize 2 things. Ethically, you're following your heart or your intuition, which guides you always for your benefit. It always looks out for you. Number 1. Number 2 is, do you know what NO stands for, Andrea? It's an acronym.
Just tell us.
No stands for new opportunities. We've always looked at no as an opposite of yes, right? But this is the lesson that I learned through turning down, and at a point sitting and thinking, oh my God, this is going to be of so much help if we have it. But the question was, at what cost? At what emotional cost is that money really worth it? And I realized that what the intent was telling me, what my intuition was telling me was, you're saying no in English, whereas whichever other way you want to take it, your construct from your mindset is, it's actually new opportunities. And that set me on a path of understanding the value of collaborations. And that brought me towards end of 2019 and beginning of 2020, pre-COVID days, where I'm jumping on calls, I'm talking to people, getting together, which led to us doing, all your Weeb summits and seminars and everything. And it just created, as you said, noticeability and visibility and opportunities. So it's new opportunities. One thing leads to another. And the current collaborations that I'm working and launching out has come by from last year's work. It's just residual effect. So that's my journey, my learning, mine only. I do know people who have been serial entrepreneurs all their life. And I think what they lack is the corporate structure and the corporate process, which is equally important, because if you don't have structure and process in place, it doesn't give you a routine, a format to replicate, so to speak. That's it.
It is especially hard at the beginning when you are starting up as an entrepreneur and you are just running after things, and you are already 1-2 years in that entrepreneurship, and then you realize like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going.
Correct.
So they really
Correct.
need the structure, and it's like the same. Like many people are working from home now, and many of my friends finding it hard to find the routine how they build their days, and simple things like this can make a difference. If you build up a routine, if you follow the same things, if you just use the same kind of methodology during the days, because it will give you the same structure like you would work for something. So it's really, really interesting points that you raised here. And recently I got a question and I wanted to ask you about this. I was doing a boot camp with some designers and some models, and we were coaching some models how they can be how can we a little bit ramp up their personal brand besides just being an influencer, and how they can change it around. And one of the models were asking like, I would really like to be just a model, but I'm a fitness coach also next to it, and I'm really afraid of leaving the fitness coaching because I know that brings me the money. And how will I be able, or when will I be able to become a full-time model? And it was really hard to answer him. I just said like, well, you have to find a balance. You still have to feed yourself. So don't just jump out, but make something out of it. And when you feel you can already go out, then do something. But what's your advice for a young entrepreneur like this? Like, what could they first do before they jump?
Well, I think you've given her the spot on advice, Andrea. The first thing that she should do is she should make up her mind whether she likes that fitness training, fitness coaching, whether she's in it for the money or she really likes it. Because hearing from you, I could be a little biased, but hearing from you, I would put my money on the fact that she's just doing it for the money. So there's no passion or interest involved in that fitness area. The other question I have is that, do you really want to be a model, or is something about the glamour part of modeling that's alluring you? So take those two and go back. You have to ask, are you really, really driving this from inside you? Is it what you truly want? Maybe being a fitness coach is not her thing, being a model is not her thing, something else might be there. I don't know. So the first thing is you've got to know yourself. Now, to know yourself, you've got to ask some really hard questions, because we all know modeling is extremely tough, number one. So to get into that, get into a break, depending on where you are. This is not the West, this is not Paris, this is not Berlin, this is not London, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Hong Kong. It's a different kettle of fish where modeling is concerned. So the first thing first is, if you really want to cut it as a model, right, you got to first have a base of a few things. So you need financial support to be in place to live, and financial support for you to invest in your cosmetics and your outfits and stuff like that. And then you need to figure out an interest that can take you onto an IG, Twitter, Facebook kind of social media, where you grow a fan base. That's, you go the celebrity influencer route to grow a fan base. So then you start attracting calls to come in and be a model, right? So let me give you an example. In a country like India, there are, I don't know, a gazillion Instagram accounts, and out of that gazillion, 99.9% of them are all aspiring starlets. Literally. So what happens is, if you look at the feed is a blur of the same thing. Sorry, I'm not being sexist, but it's a blur of the same thing. So when something totally different stands out, like adult education, like child labor, like I don't know, I mean, working from home, remote, blended hybrid working, things like these pop up, they really stand out. So now somebody wants to become a model, you've got to find a niche. How can you be different other than just, again, with all due respects, bearing skin or something of the sort? How can you bring a personality through your communication? How can you bring a personality through your action? And your action is that little niche of what you're doing. You're standing out, which creates an influencer status. That would be my 2 cents worth to make and build her personal brand. Therefore, you need to work something parallelly. I don't know the few people that I've known out here and back in India. I don't know anybody who's gone into modeling straight, being 16, 17 years old and just gone straight into modeling. They have, but they've had their parental support to stay with their parents and eat food and buy the stuff that they need. On the other hand, I know people who've actually held down a job and done the ramp walking in the evenings and the nights and, rehearsed on the weekends and stuff like that. But they actually ran full-time jobs in various facilities, and then they quit their jobs at a point where the modeling assignment started becoming 20 days a month. So they then decided that I'm going to do this for 3-4 years, and either I'm going to try and go into the movies or I'm going to move out. So that's another aspect that you've got to take into account. So you're 20 today or you're 29 today, and what's your modeling life? Your modeling life is 10 years, right? So in 10 years, the world's going to change. Today, the pace of change is so fast. So are you ready with something that you can bring to do in a couple of years' time? So take a look at the top global models for that matter. Every one of them have a couple of years, maybe 4 years of real highbrow ramps and limelights and everything. And then they spin off into designer labels and products and et cetera, et cetera. And then they get into entrepreneurship and they get into business and they remain in the limelight. But the focus has changed from being on the runway. They're now directing the runway and getting paid much more without all that. So that intent, focus, and purpose, this becomes very critical than just jumping. Again, I go back, hearing you, it's the conscious that is driving this person's words or behavior. So it needs to step back. It needs to really understand, what do I want to do with my life? So, okay, you want to be a top-notch fashion model. Great. Where are you going to go? Miss World, Miss Universe. Great. What are you going to do after that? Movies? Great. What are you going to do after that? So let's say 3 years to become Miss Universe, Miss World. Another 3 years, you do movies. What happens at the end of 6 or 7 years? And you can put down your age, 20 years, 25, 30, 35, whatever. So you'll become a Mrs. America or, housewife global. So if you're in that line, you need to find something that is going to sustain you financially as well as your passion to become a brand. Then you map your way out. And this is a 10-year plan. This is what we call legacy planning, right?
And this is something that actually very important. And I told them, don't think short term, because this is your life. So whatever you do it you're well planned out, because as you said, modeling is a short period when you are on the runway, and after that there are so many things that you can do. So I will definitely play this part of our conversation for the group. They will really like it.
If I may just add, it's great you brought this example from the modeling side, because this is exactly the stuff I talk to with mid-career people also. Employed mid-career, 9 to 5, doing remote, men and women. And it is amazing how clueless, I'll use that word, they are beyond that increment, beyond that promotion. And literally asking them a question, can you sit down, take 5 minutes, gather your thoughts and tell me, what do you want your life to look like, or what do you want to achieve in your life this time next year? And you'd be amazed in that discovery session how much comes out of their so-called suppressed dreams. Then when I tell them, so what's stopping you? I don't have money. I said, okay, so why don't you work at something that makes you the money? So if you like X, you're working 9 to 5 on this, why don't you start talking about that X so that you can become a blogger, and the blogging you earn $100 an article or whatever it is, and then in 10 months you'll have, $1,000, and that $1,000 is a kitty that you invest in generating that passion and building it up for life. So it's a question of understanding, where do I want to be at a certain point in time? It's your life plan. And then you make that dynamic. It's not cast in stone. And that comes back to the personal branding aspect. That's when your passion and your interest are together. You layer that, you put a makeup of your personality that is you, literally take 1 or 2 core values, layer it, create your message, and stick to that beep message. Sorry, I was going to use a cuss word out there, so I tuned it out. Stick to your message. Again, employed professionals as well as those in a lot trying to do personal branding, inconsistency of message is what kills the individual brand. So, like for example, for 3 years, you've been on empowerment all the way through. Here in empowerment, Andrea is synonymous. So the word empower comes up, Andrea comes up, right? Dare to dream comes up, all right? Dare to dance your way through comes up. So those associations take time. You're not going to get it in 7 days. And my best analogy, and I'll end it with that. When you want to have sex and have the pleasure, it takes 5 minutes. But when you make that decision to have a baby, it takes that 9 months and 10 days and nothing before that to have the baby. So you see, there's a difference. You're taking decision at either stage. One is pure enjoyment, short term, our 6 second attention span kind of stuff. The other one is fulfillment with a longer term goal, because there's a delivery at the end of something that is really precious that you're responsible. So you're committing yourself to a responsibility for the rest of your life, or at least for 20 years, right? This is the mindset you need to come with when it's your life, your personal brand, and what do you want to do in terms of adding value to the other person. So you might be a corporate employee and you're very skilled and you earn 50, 60, 70, 100,000 bucks, 200,000 bucks, I don't know, per month, whatever your figure is. At the end of the day, nobody's going to remember you if you have not touched their heart. And the only way to touch their heart is going to be that interpersonal value. Now, if you're able to do that well, that becomes your brand value over time. You will be sought out. Like I said, recruiters will call you as an employed person. Your entrepreneurship will bloom because people are attracted to you like a moth is attracted to a light. That's where it all lies. That is the true essence of branding yourself, is the true essence of creating impact and influence onto society and others.
And now you see what humanizing brand means, because he's so
Yeah,
passionate
in a way.
about the branding, but he's always putting legacy there. So it's also how you create your own future and what you leave behind, and that makes us all somehow humans, because we are not just here for ourselves. We are here for the next generations, and we are supporting them all the way with whatever we are creating, right? So I think Absolutely. The only thing that we didn't touch today, it was the future. So we will go towards that point. Let me know
I'm happy to touch on that. Yeah.
What did you want to say?
I just wanted to say that you brought up future, so I'm going to get into that right now. And I have only one statement to say. All of us imagine future from our past. Now, let me clarify what I mean. I've learned this very recently. What we've experienced in our past creates something that we believe is real today. And that imagination is what we project forward from where we are today. And I can tell you, I imagine a reality that I am not right now. I can see myself, my clothing, my costume, my work and everything a couple of years down the line. About my target is 2023, which I am not today. I'm working, my delivery is towards that. And that's future. The thing is, it goes back to an area that impacts communication. I'm going to spend a minute on this. We don't give enough credit, and we don't give enough credit to our brains, i.e. our minds, and we don't love ourselves. What has happened with our conditioning globally is that we are actually very harsh on ourselves. I know, because I've learned it the hard way. I've spent 50 years of my life really mistreating my own self, whereas our brains are the best things in our entire human anatomy. The amount of the power of the mind, what the mind can conjure. Literally, I have experienced what the mind thinks you can do. I've learned it now. All right. It's not manifestation. It's not art of manifestation. It's not affirmations. It's pure, simple connecting with your subconscious, knowing the potential you have in your unconscious. So you want to talk about future. I'll use a cliche. I was going to say, dream big. Can you be a millionaire? Why a millionaire? Can't you be a billionaire or the first global trillionaire? Somebody will say, Joy, you've lost it. Yeah, I've lost it. Dream big, because then you need to chunk it down into actionable steps. And you can do it. So if somebody is going to be trading in, I don't know, cryptocurrencies, and cryptocurrencies are what's going to go through the roof in the next 5 years, you might become that trillionaire that the world needs. Now, whether being a trillionaire is part of your purpose or not is different. But future, think of future very, very differently than your present or your past, because most of us think of our future in correlation to the baggage we carry from our past. We are dragging a set of bags, like in the airport. When you leave your house every day, you don't drag a huge bag. You just carry your handbag or a man bag or a folio. Be like that. Imagine just you in your future, not your yesterday and not your today. Now, if you imagine that, the next thing you do is work backwards. Do you need a bridge? Do you need a road? Do you need a plane? Do you need a bus? Do you need a ship? Vehicles. How are you going to get there? What are you going to do to get those tools? It's a plan. When you plan, then execute. For crying out loud, if you don't take action on what you've thought about and the steps you've drawn up, it's just a wish. Nothing's going to happen. And then, my favorite saying, one of mine, expectations are the seeds of disappointment. Don't expect when you start off one day that you're going to be a success overnight. Success is hard work. It takes time. So don't expect, just do. And this is the hardest part. How can I do something without being gratified? Because we are in this culture of immediate gratification,
right? Yeah.
You got to get out of that and say, I'm actually just planting the seeds and watering the soil, and this is going to grow in 7 years like a bamboo forest. If you can do that, I can guarantee, that's what I'm doing. I'm not bothered about what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm just doing my investment in my efforts for that picture I see, and my first milestone is 2 years away. Okay, do it. All I can tell you is, from my personal experience, you'll be better today than you were yesterday, and you'll be adding value to people you interact with. You go to bed feeling really good about yourself, which is the best thing that can happen, because when you love yourself, you radiate positivity and love. Automatically, kindness and genuineness follows from all of this happens up there in your mind. So the first step is understand what your mind is telling you about you, align it with your heart, find your purpose, get your interest, bring up your values, stop listening to wife, husband, sister, brother, son, daughter, friend. Do. Put on blinders and do. If you fall flat on your face, pick yourself up, see why you've fallen flat, correct it, continue. That's it. Do it, success will come. Whichever way you define success. Many of us define success as financial gains. Many of us define it as a reputational credibility. It will occur. That's how we've been made. That's how we are wired. All we need to do is give ourselves a chance and simply try. Just aim for it by believing. That's all. That's my 2 cents on future.
I think that summarizes everything. We already here for 1 hour, and it's just flying by. I was just checking the time, and I think we talked about everything what was needed. We touched diversity. We went through empowerment. We checked the personal branding, entrepreneurship. We even talked about entrepreneurship and how to switch from employee to entrepreneur, and we went into the future, ventured into relationships. So I think this series and this session will be a value-packed session for everyone who takes the time and watching it, better than maybe some of the Netflix series. So just tune into the Dare to Dance Your Way show next time and watch these very heartfelt conversations with my guests, and you see that they want to give. So the only thing that you have to do is to take it and then implement it and do the action and reach your dreams. So thank you very much, Joy. It was an amazing 1 hour with you. We will catch up soon, and I wish you more success, and I wish you that you will reach this milestone soon, as you said, in 2 years. And a happy weekend for you and a very happy relaxation time. I know that soon you will have a little bit of break and you finally can relax.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to be on your show, as it always is. It's a delight to interact with you. And yeah, look forward to catching up offline also very soon. Have a great weekend.
Yes,
Fantastic.
thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and stay tuned and watch back this series. It will come up on the podcast also. And have a beautiful weekend. Bye bye. Don't forget, dare to dance your way.